If my son calls me weak one more time, I'll show him what weakness really costs. Strength doesn't shout. It bleeds. It sacrifices. It lives inside scars nobody applauds. That's what I whisper to myself as the second hand of my old army watch hacks through the silence. Tick, tick. Each sound is a heartbeat from a life Alex has long forgotten. A life where his father was still a hero, not a failure hiding in a quiet house at the edge of town. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening in the comments. The picture frame in my hand shakes as I polish the glass. Alex is 9 in the photo, cheeks smudged with dirt, clutching a fishing rod twice his size. I'm standing behind him, proud, unbroken, the man he once called a protector. The glass reflects someone else now. 63, hair like ash, shoulders stiff from an injury that never healed, and eyes tired from too many nights staring down a bottle. The phone explodes into silence. Dad, he says flat, efficient, like he's calling a client. I'll stop by for Father's Day. Couple of hours. Then Mom and Rick are waiting. We've got dinner reservations. A couple of hours. That's all the space my son gives me in his life now. 2 hours to be a father before handing the rest of the day to the man who replaced me. That's fine, son. I answer, forcing calm into my tone. I'll make it count. When the line dies, I press my palms into the counter. My reflection in the darkened kitchen window stares back, jaw clenched, shame buzzing under the skin. My hand drifts toward the cabinet, toward the bottle that waits like an old accomplice. But not tonight. Not when I still hear his voice calling me weak between the lines. Instead, I walk outside into the heavy air. The gate groans as I work the oil into its hinges, but the squeal lingers anyway, sharp and haunting. It sounds like judgment. It sounds like the war inside me, the one I never brought home but that never stopped marching. And then, against my will, memory claws its way up. A desert sky, smoke tearing open the horizon, men screaming orders that dissolve into static. One face, the one I shouldn't think of, Rick's, pale and broken in the dirt. I remember the weight of him as I dragged his body from under fire, the tearing pain that ended my career and carved the road to this moment. I never told Alex. Never told anyone. Heroes don't send invoices for the lives they save. The photo in my hand trembles. My son will come tomorrow, but it will not be the boy who once called me a hero. It will be a man looking at me like a liability. A man who's already chosen another father. And then I hear it, gravel crunching under tires outside. Too early. The test has arrived before I've even had time to prepare. The watch ticks. My chest tightens. My hand grips the doorknob. I swing the door open, bracing for impact. Because in my life, nothing ever comes on time, only too soon and always like a bullet. Alex shows up earlier than promised. No knock, no warning, just a crunch of tires outside and the slam of his car door. I'm still wearing the same shirt I used while scrubbing the counters, sweat clinging to my back. My watch ticks like it's counting down. He steps inside with his laptop bag slung over his shoulder, his face all business. No flowers, no card. Just that restless look people get when they're already late for somewhere else. Dad, I need to talk. Quick. I nod, motioning him to sit. He doesn't. He stays standing, pacing like a man about to pitch an investor. I need $70,000 for a down payment. I found a house. It's time I start my life. 70,000. The number rattles in the air like gunfire. I feel in my chest, sharp and hollow. My mouth is dry, but I force the words out steady. 70,000. I repeat. That's no small request. It's not a request, he shoots back, his tone sharper than he intends. It's an investment. You always said a man should stand on his own feet. This is me trying. I just need a push. My hands tighten around the arm of the chair. I want to tell him I'd give him the world if I had it, that I've already given him more than he knows. But truth is heavier than wishes. I can help, I say, but not like that. I've saved 7,000. That's what I can give you. He laughs, short, metallic, cruel without meaning to. 7? Dad, I'm not a kid asking for allowance. I'm trying to build a life. Rick said. He stops. The name hangs between us like smoke. Rick said, what? I ask. Nothing, he mutters, avoiding my eyes. The silence stretches. My watch ticks too loud, betraying my heartbeat. I lift my chin, grounding myself. Give me until tomorrow. I tell him, let me see what I can do. I'll find a way. His gaze narrows, skeptical, calculating. You've got until dinner, he says. Then I need an answer. I can't waste time. He snaps his laptop shut, the sound like a gavel. He's already halfway to the door. And I stand there, clutching the photograph in my pocket, knowing my son just treated me like a failing bank instead of his father. As his car disappears down the road, I open the drawer in the hallway cabinet. Inside are the medals, the letters, the pieces of a life that once meant something. I lay them out on the table one by one, the weight of each heavier than the last. This is the currency I have left. And if I can't give him $70,000 in dollars, maybe I can pay in blood, in scars, in history. I stare at the stack of ribbons and tarnished metal, then reach for the old address book. Names of brothers in arms I haven't called in years. Because when money fails, a man pays in favors. And tomorrow, I'll pay in full, one way or another. Morning drags like a battlefield stretcher. Slow, heavy, full of weight nobody wants to carry. I spend it dialing numbers I haven't touched in years. Old Army brothers. Men who once would have bled beside me without hesitation. Mark, brother, I'd help if I could. Times are tight. You know I'd give anything, but I can barely cover my meds these days. One by one, the refusals pile up, each voice softer than the last, each apology sharper than a blade. I don't blame them. I'd probably say the same if our positions were reversed. But every no adds another stone to the wall between me and my son. At the bank, the air smells like disinfectant and distrust. The woman in the suit smiles thinly, tapping at her keyboard. Your credit history is unfavorable, Mr. Carter. I'm afraid we can't extend a loan at this time. Unfavorable. That word burns. Not failed. Not ruined. Just unfavorable, like I'm a bad bet at a poker table. By the time I leave, the sun has climbed high, and sweat runs down my back beneath this old denim jacket. I head to the pawn shop, metals rattling in a shoebox. The owner doesn't even look at me at first. He just picks up the bronze star, holds it up to the fluorescent light, and whistles low. Nice piece. Collectors love these. That's not a piece, I tell him. That's my life. He shrugs. Life, metal, trinket, it's all the same here. $6,000 for the lot. My jaw locks. 6. For everything I bled for. But I don't argue. I just nod and take the cash. Pride doesn't pay down payments. Back home, I count everything on the kitchen table. 7 from my own savings. 6 from the pawn shop. 1,000 wired by Kostya, my old comrade, who never says more than he has to. A couple hundred from a neighbor who insists it's just a loan. 13,000. That's all I've got. A far cry from 70, but it's honest, carved out of bone and sacrifice. I stack the bills carefully, press them flat, and tuck them into a plain white envelope. On the outside, I write, for Alex. I pin an old silver button from my uniform to it. Something for him to hold, to remember the weight behind the number. The watch ticks steady, like it approves. For the first time in days, I feel the faint shadow of pride. I brew coffee, bitter and black, and sit by the window. Maybe 13 is enough. Maybe he'll see the effort, not the shortfall. Maybe. Then my phone buzzes. A message lights the screen. Dad, change of plans. We're coming earlier. Mom and Rick want to surprise you. Be ready. The word surprise stings. In war, surprises were landmines. They never brought good news. Outside, the wind rattles the gate again. This time, it doesn't sound like warning. It sounds like a summons. Because tomorrow's battle isn't waiting. It's arriving tonight. They arrive like they're stepping onto a stage. The SUV door swings open, and out comes Emma first, heels sharp against the driveway, perfume drifting in the summer air. Rick follows, crisp suit jacket despite the heat, his cologne loud enough to announce him before he even speaks. And then Alex, caught between them, eyes flicking back and forth like he's trying to please two generals in one war. Mark, Rick says, extending his hand. His grip is too firm, a challenge disguised as courtesy. Finally, we get to celebrate you properly. In daylight, not just in the stories. I prefer facts over stories. I answer, leading them through the yard. The grill hisses behind me, flames licking at the edges of the steaks I've been marinating since dawn. A couple of neighbors lean on the fence, curious. Around here, people don't miss a show, especially when the cast promises drama. Rick notices the audience. He straightens, loosens his tie just enough to look casual. Mind if I take over the grill? Let a man with business experience show how it's done. I hand him the tongs without a word. Sometimes the best way to expose a man is to let him talk and act. He flips one steak, then another, overconfident. And then it happens. The largest cut slips through the grates, straight into the fire. Flames roar up, licking the polished leather of his Italian shoes. He jerks back, almost stumbling, and the neighbors chuckle under their breath. Emma gasps. Alex winces. Careful, I say calmly, sliding the meat out with a steady hand, laying it back on the tray. Takes rhythm. Heat's a living thing. You've got to respect it. I move fast, turning the rest of the steaks in smooth succession, each sear precise, each motion practiced. My watch ticks with every flip, marking the rhythm like a drill sergeant. The fire bows to me, quiets down, and the meat falls into line like soldiers. Behind me, a soft ripple of applause drifts from the fence. Not loud, but enough to sting. Rick forces a smile, nods as if he planned it this way all along. Impressive, he says, his voice too bright. But we came with something even better than steak. A gift, the kind that changes lives. Thought it would be perfect to give it tonight, in front of everyone. I glance at Alex. His face glows with anticipation, like a kid about to open the biggest present under the tree. Emma beams. The neighbors lean closer, hungry for more. I nod slowly. Then let's all see it. No reason to hide. Rick pats his breast pocket, where something stiff and white peeks out, the corner of an envelope. And in that moment, I know exactly what kind of gift this man plans to use to buy my son's loyalty. We sit down at the table in the yard, the sun hanging low, painting everything in gold that feels heavier than it should. The plates clink, glasses filled with iced tea sweat in the heat. For a moment, it almost looks like a family dinner. Almost. I slide the plain white envelope across the table toward Alex. This is for you, I tell him. I scrape together what I could. $13,000. Every dollar earned, not borrowed. Every piece of it honest. He stares at the envelope, fingers brushing the silver button pinned to the corner. He doesn't open it, doesn't look at me, because Rick is already standing, already reaching into his jacket pocket with the flourish of a magician about to pull a rabbit from his hat. Alex, Rick says, voice booming just enough for the neighbors to hear. This is what real support looks like. He places a check on the table with both hands, sliding it toward my son like it's an offering at an altar. $70,000. Enough for the down payment. No strings. Just because I believe in you. The crowd around the fence murmurs. Emma beams, proud and satisfied. Alex's eyes widen, almost glowing. He lifts the check like it's a holy relic, the corners fluttering in the warm evening breeze. My chest tightens. My envelope sits there beside it, thin and pitiful, dwarfed by the bold number scrawled across Rick's perfect paper. I clear my throat. My voice is low, steady, but it cuts through the noise. I brought $13,000. That's what I could give. That's the sum of favors called in, medals pawned, and pride swallowed. I can't match 70. But I can tell you every dollar in that envelope carries the weight of sacrifice. Alex doesn't look at me. His jaw flexes. He stares at the two envelopes, the fat check from Rick, the meager offering from me, as though the choice defines more than money. Rick smirks, letting silence do the work for him. Then, as if he can't resist, he twists the knife. Don't be hard on your dad, Alex. We can't all be providers. Some men lead. Others do their best. And sometimes their best just isn't enough. The words drop like stones into the still water of the yard. Emma winces. The neighbors glance away, embarrassed for me. But Alex, my son, keeps staring at the check in his hand. Something cracks inside me, deep and cold. For years I've held my tongue, swallowed the bitterness, let silence stand in for dignity. But watching my boy believe that paper check is worth more than the blood and years I've given, this is different. I place my hand flat on the table. Alex, I say, my voice low but sharp, you think that's what strength looks like? A signature on a check? Then listen closely, because tomorrow, before this day is over, you're going to learn the difference between money and sacrifice. My watch ticks louder, echoing through the silence, as if the world itself is counting down. And I see it in Alex's eyes, the storm rising, the anger building, the confrontation I've dreaded for years about to break wide open. Alex's face hardens as the weight of silence presses down on the table. His fingers tighten around the check, knuckles whitening, eyes flashing with something raw and dangerous. Then it breaks. His voice erupts across the yard, shattering the fragile calm. "Enough, Dad," he yells, standing so fast his chair tips backward into grass. "You don't get it. You've never gotten it. You couldn't keep our family together. You drowned yourself in bottles while Mom tried to hold the pieces. And now when I finally ask you for help, you give me 13,000? 13? That's a joke." The words slice deeper than any blade. Every failure, every night alone in this house, every time I reach for the bottle instead of the phone, they're all there lined up like bullets. "Alex," Emma pleads, her voice trembling. "Don't." But he barrels on, pointing at me with shaking hands. "You ruined everything. You ruined Mom. You ruined me. And now what? You think pawning off scraps is going to make you a father again? Rick's been there for me. He's the one who shows up. He's the one who knows what I need. He's the father I should have had." The neighbors shift uncomfortably, some looking away, others staring like they can't look anywhere else. Rick leans back in his chair, silent but smug, letting Alex's rage do the work for him. I steady myself, gripping the edge of the table. My watch ticks, steady against the storm, though my chest is a battlefield. "I gave what I had," I say softly, not because it was easy, but because it cost me. "Cost you?" Alex snaps. "You don't even know what cost means. You've been hiding from life for years." And then it happens. He steps forward, fury boiling over, and shoves me hard in the chest. My chair lurches, the table rocks, plates clatter. The old photograph of us, the one by the river, the one I had polished earlier, slips from the counter behind me and crashes to the floor. Glass shatters, scattering across the tile like broken years. I reach down, lifting the frame, my hand shaking but not from the fall. The image stares back at me through a jagged crack running down its center, splitting father from son. For a moment, everything freezes. Emma covers her mouth, gasping. The neighbors go utterly silent, like even the birds are holding their breath. Alex stares at the broken picture, chest heaving, his own rage suddenly mirrored back at him. "You want to talk about weakness?" I ask quietly, holding the cracked frame up so he can see his 9-year-old self smiling beside me. "You want to know where I failed? Sit down, because there's a story I've never told you. A story about what it really means to bleed for someone." He shakes his head, confused, angry, but the words hold him. They pin him where he stands. Rick shifts uncomfortably for the first time all evening. His jaw clenches, his eyes dart to mine, quick, nervous. He knows what's coming. "Dad!" Alex mutters, voice uneven now, like he's caught between fury and fear. I set the broken frame down gently on the table, the crack gleaming under the porch light. My hand stays there, flat against the glass, grounding myself. "You've measured me by what I've lost," I say, voice firm, steady. "Tonight, you'll hear about what I gave. And after that, son, you'll never look at me or at him the same way again." The watch ticks once, twice, louder than the world. And for the first time all night, Rick doesn't smile. The crack in the photograph glints under the porch light, a scar across the faces of a father and son who once stood side by side. My hand lingers on it, steadying me, anchoring me in a truth I've buried for decades. You think I don't know what weakness looks like? I say, my voice low, steady. I've stared in the eye, and I've dragged it out of the dirt with my own hands. Alex swallows hard, still standing, fists clench at his sides. The check trembles between his fingers. It was years ago. I begin, eyes locked on a broken photo. A mission in the desert. Heat so thick it burned your lungs, sand cutting your skin like glass. Our convoy got hit. Mortars, gunfire, chaos everywhere. Men shouting orders that turned into static before they even hit the air. The neighbors lean closer over the fence. Even the night seems to hold its breath. There was a man, flat on the ground, face buried in the dirt, not because he was afraid, because he knew moving meant death. He had the order in his eyes, stay still or everyone burns. I pause, my watch ticking, counting down the silence. I crawled through fire for him. 3 breaths forward, 1 breath out. That's all I allowed myself. And when the blast wave hit, when it threw him into the open, I covered him with my own body. Took the hit that ended my career. Left me with scars I carry to this day. My hand trembles slightly, not from weakness, but from memory. I force my gaze up, locking eyes with Rick. That man was him, I say, pointing across the table. Your stepfather, the one who signs the checks, the one you call dependable. He's alive because I decided silence was worth more than gratitude. Rick stiffens. His smile is gone. His throat bobs as he swallows, his eyes flicking at Alex and back to me. Is it true? Alex demands, his voice cracking. Tell me, is it true? Rick exhales slowly, shoulders dropping. For once, he doesn't look like a businessman or a provider or a replacement father. He just looks cornered. Yes, he mutters. It's true. The words ripple through the yard, louder than any shout. Emma gasps, covering her mouth. The neighbors whisper to each other, shocked. Alex stares at Rick like he's seeing him for the first time, then turns to me, his face pale. Dad, why didn't you tell me? Because saving a life isn't a bill you send later, I answer. Because I didn't want you to see me as a hero. I wanted you to love me as your father. Nothing more. Alex's hand trembles, the check shaking in the air like it's about to ignite. His breathing quickens, eyes darting between us, between truth and betrayal. Rick shifts in his chair, his voice desperate now. I never said anything because I didn't want to burden anyone with it. I thought it was better. Better for who? Alex snaps, his anger turning on him now. Better for you? So you could sit here acting like you built everything on your own. The check flutters in the air, too close to the grill, too close to the fire. Alex's knuckles whiten around it. And for the first time tonight, I see it, the crack of my son's certainty. The beginning of something breaking loose. The watch ticks louder. The fire hisses. And in the heavy silence, I realize this war isn't over. It's only just begun. The check trembles in Alex's hand, edges fluttering the night air, dangerously close to the grill's flames. His face is pale, but his eyes are wide, raw, searching for ground that isn't crumbling beneath him. You, he stammers, looking at Rick. You knew all this time. Rick straightens his shoulders, trying to gather the authority he wore like armor all evening. I didn't want to complicate things. Gratitude can feel like a chain. It was better left unspoken. Better for who? Alex spits, the word sharper than he means. His voice cracks on the last syllable, jagged with betrayal. Better for you? So you could keep playing the savior while hiding behind my father's silence. Emma presses a hand to her chest. The neighbors whisper along the fence line, their faces shifting from curiosity to shame. For Rick, not for me. I lean forward, my voice quiet, but carrying weight. Strength isn't in checks or speeches, son. It's in the choices no one sees. I bled for that man. I lost a career that gave me purpose. And I never asked for thanks. That's sacrifice. That's cost. Alex stares down at the paper in his hand, the bold numbers staring back at him. The promise of stability. The price of loyalty. His jaw works, his breath shallow. Then he lifts the check toward the grill, close enough for the edges to curl from the heat. The crowd gasps. Emma lunges forward. Alex, don't. But he holds it steady, firelight dancing in his eyes. I don't want your money, he says, voice low, shaking but resolute. He turns to Rick. I don't want anything bought. Not my home, not my future, not my love. You've been trying to buy me this whole time, and I was too blind to see it. Rick's face drains of color. For the first time, his confidence fractures. Alex, think about what you're saying. I am thinking. Alex cuts him off, maybe for the first time tonight. He pulls the check back from the flames and slams it flat on the table in front of Rick. Take it. I won't be bought. Not with this. Not with anything. Silence drops like a curtain. Even the grill seems to quiet, the flames pulling back as if to listen. The neighbors hold their breath. Emma's eyes glisten. I sit back slowly, watching the moment unfold, the crack in my son's armor widening into something real, something honest. He turns to me then, voice softer. Dad, why didn't you ever tell me? Why did you let me believe you were just weak? Because saving a life isn't a trophy, I say, and because I wanted you to choose me as your father, not worship me as a soldier. His throat works. He nods once, quickly, eyes glassy. The envelope of my $13,000 sits between us, small and humble. But for the first time tonight, it doesn't look pathetic. It looks alive. And then Alex does something I don't expect. He places his hand over it, fingers curling around a button pinned to the corner, like he's finally touching the weight of what I try to give him. The night is still. My watch ticks, and I realize the battle isn't over, but the tide has shifted. Rick stares at the check lying in front of him, his hand hovering over it like it's radioactive. He tries to laugh it off, but the sound dies in his throat. The neighbors along the fence lean in, whispers buzzing through the warm night like static. Alex, Rick begins, forcing a smile, you're emotional. You're not thinking straight. This is your future I'm trying to secure. Your house, your independence. But Alex shakes his head, his voice cutting through the air. No, Rick, this isn't about my future. It's about your control. About making sure I look at you and see stability while looking at him. He gestures at me, and seeing failure, the crowd reacts with a ripple, some nodding, some murmuring. Rick's jaw tightens. Son, Rick starts, but Alex raises his hand, silencing him. Don't call me that. His voice trembles, but it carries. You're not my father. You never were. The man sitting across from you is. And you've been living off his silence for years. Rick's composure cracks. He clears his throat, sits straighter, then tries again, this time addressing the neighbors. We're all just trying to do what's best for Alex. A real family sticks together. But Alex doesn't let him off the hook. He turns toward the fence, projecting his words like a declaration. This is my father, he says, voice strong now. He's the man who dragged another soldier out of fire, who lost his career and carried scars so others could live. He gave me $13,000 he didn't have to give, not because he wanted control, not because he wanted recognition, but because he loves me. The neighbors shift, some clapping softly, some nodding, eyes on me instead of Rick. The tide has turned, and Rick feels it. I see his face redden, the sweat gathering at his temples. Alex. He tries again, but the words sound thinner now, brittle. No, Alex interrupts, standing tall. I don't want your money. I don't want your promises. I don't want your shadow hanging over every choice I make. You're not buying me anymore. The check sits limp on the table, stripped of its power. Rick pushes it back into his jacket pocket with trembling fingers, the once grand gesture now looking desperate. Emma looks from me to Alex, her eyes glassy, her lips pressed tight. She whispers softly, but I catch it. Mark, I'm sorry. Rick tries one last move, leaning back, flashing that practiced smile to the crowd. Well, he says lightly. This turned into quite the show. Guess we all got more than steak tonight. But nobody laughs. Not Emma. Not the neighbors. Not Alex. The silence is heavier than his money. And for the first time, he's the one left standing in it alone. I lean forward, voice calm but sharp. Respect isn't bought, Rick. It's earned. And tonight you lost it. The words hang in the air, final, undeniable. Rick lowers his eyes, and the neighbors murmur again, not with curiosity this time, but with quiet judgment. My son looks at me then, really looks at me, and for the first time in years, I see something more than disappointment in his eyes. I see recognition. The watch ticks once, twice, steady as ever, and I know the war has shifted. The enemy isn't me anymore. The night winds down slowly, like smoke curling off the last dying ember. Neighbors drift away from the fence one by one, their whispers fading into the quiet street. The yard empties, but the weight of what happened hangs heavy in the air. Rick lingers for a moment at the edge of the table, trying to salvage dignity, then finally mutters something about an early morning and walks to his car. The engine roars too loud, then fades into the distance. For the first time all evening, the house feels like mine again. Emma stays behind. She steps closer to the table, fingertips brushing over the cracked photograph lying between the empty plates. Her voice is soft, trembling. Mark, I never realized. I never understood what you carried. I study her face, the familiar lines shadowed by porch light. Once, I would have given anything to hear those words. Now I simply nod. We all hear what we want to hear, until silence gets too loud to ignore. She bites her lip, eyes glistening, then glances at Alex. You've got a father worth listening to, she says quietly. Then she hugs him, a brief, almost guilty embrace, before walking toward her car. And then it's just me and my son. Alex doesn't speak at first. He just stands there, shoulders tense, hands in his pockets, staring at the cracked glass of the photo. Finally, he says, You pawned your medals for me, didn't you? I don't answer right away. The truth doesn't need to be rushed. They were just metal, memories I already carry inside. You needed the money more than I needed reminders. His jaw tightens. He looks at the envelope again. Still on the table, the silver button glinting faintly under the porch light. He presses his hand against it, like he's grounding himself. I don't want Rick's money, he says. I don't want shortcuts. But I can't take this either, Dad. Not if it means you're left with nothing. I shake my head. It's not nothing. It's yours. And it's the only way I know how to show you I still believe in you. Silence stretches, but it's not the same silence as before. It's warmer, filled with something unfamiliar. Respect. Finally, Alex pulls out a chair and sits beside me. Not across from me. Not above me. Beside me. Then let me give something back, he says quietly. Let me help you. With the drinking. With everything. I glance at him, the words catching in my throat. For years, I've fought alone. Hearing him say that, it feels like a door opening I thought was welded shut. There's a meeting tomorrow, I say, finally, at the church on the corner. I've been thinking of going. Couldn't quite walk through the door. He nods firmly. Then we'll go together. The porch light flickers, buzzing faintly in the warm night. I look down at my watch, the ticking steady in my ears. For the first time in years, it doesn't sound like a countdown to failure. It sounds like the beat of something beginning again. Alex leans back in his chair, exhaling deeply, as if the weight he's carried for years has slipped off his shoulders. We sit in the quiet, side by side, with broken glass on the table between us, and something unbroken beginning to form. And in the distance, the gate creaks softly in the wind, like it's whispering. The hardest battles are fought at home. The church basement smells of stale coffee and old paint, the kind of place where secrets soak into the walls. Folding chairs form a circle in the center of the room. No pulpit, no stage, just a dozen people sitting shoulder to shoulder, each carrying a story they'd rather bury but can't. Alex and I step in together. He hesitates, scanning the faces, then sits next to me. His shoulders are stiff, but he doesn't move away. The scrape of our chairs echoes in the room like a declaration. We're here. The meeting begins quietly. People speak in turns, their voices raw, unpolished. A man in work boots talks about how he hasn't seen his daughter in months. A woman with tired eyes admits she poured vodka into a coffee mug just to survive another morning. Their words cut deep, not because they're dramatic, but because they're honest. When my turn comes, I clear my throat. My voice feels heavy, like I'm pulling it up from somewhere buried. My name is Mark. I say, the words unfamiliar but steady. And I've been carrying a war inside my chest long after I left the battlefield. I thought I could drown it in bottles. I thought silence was strength. But silence almost cost me my son. The group answers in unison. Hi, Mark. I glance at Alex. His eyes are locked on me, not with pity, not with shame, just listening, like he's decoding every word. I'm tired of fighting alone. I continue. So I'm here, not because I'm proud of where I am, but because I want to walk out of this with him still calling me Dad. The circle is quiet. The only sound is the hum of the old light overhead. Then Alex speaks, his voice breaking the silence. He is my dad, he says firmly, and I'm choosing to stand with him. Heads nod around the circle. Some smile. A few clap softly. For the first time in years, I feel something inside me shift. Not victory, not redemption, just the beginning of both. And then the door creaks open behind us. Heavy footsteps echo across the basement floor. I turn my head, and there he is, Rick, framed in the doorway, his polished shoes out of place on the worn linoleum. The room stills. The circle watches. My son tenses beside me. And I know this fight isn't done. Not yet. Rick steps into the basement, like he's walking into a boardroom. His suit jacket is still pressed, his tie knotted tight, his face set in that same confident mask he's worn all night. But here, in this circle of folding chairs and paper coffee cups, his polish looks out of place, almost absurd. The group leader gestures toward an empty chair. This is a circle, he says evenly. No speeches. Just truth. If you want to sit, sit. Rick hesitates, then lowers himself into the chair by the wall. For once, he's not at the center. He's on the edge, waiting for his turn like everyone else. The meeting continues. A young man talks about relapsing after 3 months sober. A woman admits she's terrified of going home to an empty apartment. The honesty in their voices makes the air heavy, but it's the kind of heaviness that holds people up rather than crushes them. Then all eyes turn to Rick. His turn. He clears his throat, his hands folded too neatly in his lap. I'm Rick, he begins, his voice too smooth, too rehearsed. And I'm grateful to be here tonight. The words hang flat in the air. The leader waits. The circle waits. Rick fidgets, then continues, his voice dropping. I'm alive because of someone in this room, he admits, glancing at me, his facade cracking. And I've carried that debt in silence for years. I thought silence made it easier, but all it did was build a wall I've been hiding behind. The group is still listening. He swallows hard, his voice trembling now. I've hidden behind money, behind success, behind checks I thought could fix things. But tonight, I got stripped of all that. And maybe I needed to. He exhales, eyes flicking to Alex, then away. I can't buy respect. And I can't buy him. I know that now. The silence that follows isn't forgiving, but it's honest. And that's worse for him. No polite applause, no saving laugh. Just a circle seeing him without the armor, without the title, without the money. I lean forward, my voice low but sharp. Gratitude isn't a speech, Rick. It's not a transaction. It's action. It's showing up when it costs you something. His face tightens, his jaw clenches. He looks smaller than I've ever seen him. Not because I humiliated him, but because he finally sees himself through the eyes of people who can't be bought. The leader nods once, then moves the circle forward. The meeting goes on, leaving Rick behind in silence. Alex sits taller beside me, his hand brushing mine briefly on the chair. No words, just presence. And it's more than enough. For the first time, I realize Rick isn't my opponent anymore. He's already beaten. By truth, by silence, by the one person he thought he could own. But the war in me isn't done. Not until I stand up and claim my place completely. And tomorrow I will. We drive home in silence. The streetlights cutting shadows across the windshield. The church fades behind us. But the weight of what happened there follows close, like a shadow that won't let go. Alex grips the wheel tighter than necessary, his jaw set, his thoughts loud even if he isn't speaking. When we pull into the driveway, The house looks different. Not bigger, not brighter, but alive. For the first time in years, it doesn't feel like a bunker. It feels like a place where something might grow. Inside, I set the cracked photograph on the kitchen table. The glass is gone now, removed after shattering. The picture breathes without it. Me and my boy, standing on that riverbank years ago, smiling like we had the world in our hands. "Let me fix it tomorrow," Alex says, dropping his keys on the counter. New glass, new frame. It deserves better. I shake my head. No glass this time. Let it breathe. We've hidden behind too much already. He nods slowly, understanding more than I expected. Then he starts pulling open drawers, sorting papers, stacking old bills. He moves through the house like a man determined to clean not just rooms, but the history inside them. "I'll take tomorrow off work," he says. "We'll clean the garage, clear the clutter, get this place back in order. And then we'll talk about the next step. Doctor, rehab, whatever it takes." I sit down, watching him move. My chest tightens, not from shame, not from regret, but from something unfamiliar. Hope. "You don't have to do this," I say quietly. "I know," he answers. "That's why I want to." The words land heavy, heavier than any check ever could. We drink tea in silence, steam curling between us like smoke signals. Every now and then, Alex's phone buzzes on the counter. He glances at it, then flips it face down. Finally, curiosity gets the better of me. "Rick." Alex nods. He's still trying. Texting, calling, telling me to think about it, that the offer still stands. And I ask. "I already answered," he says, taking a sip of tea. One word. "No." I can't help the smile that breaks across my face. Small but real. Outside, the wind shifts, rattling the gate. But it doesn't creak this time. Not after the oil I worked into its hinges yesterday. Now it swings smoothly, quietly like a promise kept. We sit there a while longer, the broken frame between us, the hum of the house no longer sounding empty but alive. And for the first time in years, I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, my son and I are finally standing on the same side. But in the pit of my stomach, I know. Tomorrow will test that belief harder than anything tonight. Morning comes early, spilling gold light through the blinds, painting the dust in the air like tiny sparks. For once, I don't wake up with a hangover. No bottle on the nightstand, no fog choking my lungs. Just the steady tick of my old watch and the muffled sound of my son moving around the kitchen. When I step out, Alex already has the back door open, letting in the cool air. Trash bags are lined up by the door, full of papers, broken things, memories I never had the courage to throw away. Up early, I say, my voice rough but alive. "Army habits," he answers with a crooked smile. Guess some of it rubbed off on me, after all. I chuckle, surprised at how natural it feels. He hands me a mug of coffee, strong, black, no sugar. The kind I used to drink before the war. Inside me got louder than the world outside. We sit at the table, the cracked photograph between us. The frame is gone, only the picture left, free of glass. Alex runs his fingers over it, careful not to smudge it. "Why'd you never replace this?" he asks. "Because I thought if I fixed the frame, I'd have to admit the picture inside was broken too." He nods slowly, letting the words settle. Then he pushes back from the table and grabs the broom. "Come on, we've got a lot to fix." We spend the morning in the garage. Dust swirls with every box we move, every drawer we open. Old uniforms, boxes of tools, rusted cans of paint, photographs from years I barely remember. Alex doesn't just clean, he asks. He wants to know what each thing means, where it came from, why I kept it. And for the first time in years, I answer, not hiding, not deflecting, just telling the truth. At noon, we haul the last trash bag to the curb. Alex wipes sweat from his forehead, grinning like a boy again. One step at a time, right? One step. I agree. My chest aches, but not from exhaustion, from pride. We eat lunch on the porch, sandwiches and cold tea. The world looks different from here. Lighter. Like maybe I don't live in ruins anymore. Then Alex sets his glass down and leans forward, his eyes steady. I want to go with you tonight. To the meeting. But after that, let's talk to a doctor. You need more than willpower. And I want to be part of the solution, not just a witness. I study him for a long moment. He's not asking as a boy anymore. He's speaking as a man. All right, I say, finally. But there's something I need to do first. What's that? I tap the watch on my wrist, the steady tick between us. I need to close a loop that's been open too long. I need to say thank you, and then goodbye. He frowned, confused. To who? To the man I saved. To the man who's been standing in my house like he owns it. Rick's name doesn't leave my lips, but Alex understands. His face hardens, then softens again as he nods. You sure you're ready for that? He asks. I've been ready for years. I say, I just didn't know it. The wind stirs a gate outside. This time, it doesn't groan or squeal. It swings open smooth and silent, like it's clearing a path. And I know the final battle is waiting. Evening settles slow, wrapping the neighborhood in the amber light of a sinking sun. By the time the grill smokes again, the yard is filled, neighbors leaning on the fence. Emma sitting near the table, Alex carrying out plates and cups. This time, the air feels different, not charged with comparison or tension, but with expectation. Like everyone's waiting for something to end, and something else to begin. Rick doesn't show. No polished suit, no booming voice, no check in his pocket. His absence says more than his presence ever could. And still, I feel him here, like a shadow pressing to board the deck. I clear my throat, standing near the table. My watch ticks, steady in the quiet, guiding me forward. I want to thank you all for being here. I say, my voice carrying across the yard. You've witnessed a lot these past few days. Not all of it was pretty, but life rarely is. Emma lowers her gaze, but she doesn't look away. Alex steps closer, standing not behind me, not in front of me, beside me. I've been measured against a man who brought money to the table. I continue. A man who thought loyalty could be purchased, that fatherhood could be written on the bottom line of a check. But you can't buy respect, and you can't buy blood. The crowd is silent, the smoke rising like a flag over the grill. I reach into my pocket and pull out the cracked photograph, holding it high enough for them all to see. This picture, I say, isn't perfect. The glass broke. The frame is gone. But what matters is what's inside. Me and my son, side by side. That's what endures. That's what's real. Alex takes a photo from my hands, holding it carefully, almost reverently. This, he says, turning to the neighbors, his voice stronger than I've ever heard it, is my father, and I choose him. Not because of money, not because of comfort, but because he's shown me what sacrifice looks like. The neighbors nod. Some clap softly, a ripple of support that feels truer than any applause I've heard in years. Emma wipes her eyes, whispering, Mark, thank you. Though whether she means for saving Rick or for raising Alex, I can't tell. Maybe both. I place my watch on the table, the steady tick filling the silence. Time has a way of stripping men down. I say, some cling to what they can buy, others to what they can prove. Me, I'll cling to what I can give. And what I give is myself. Every scar, every failure, every ounce of fight left in me. For a long moment, nobody moves. Then the neighbors break into applause, not forced, not polite, but warm, like rain after a long drought. Alex lays a photograph next to my watch, side by side. Small things, but together they carry more weight than a fortune. The night feels like it's closing one door and opening another, yet inside me, I know one more step remains. The war isn't done until the last debt is spoken out loud. I turn to Alex. Tomorrow, I tell him, we finish this. His jaw tightens, but he nods. Together, the gate swings softly in the evening breeze, silent, smooth, waiting. And I know the final reckoning is close enough to touch. Morning arrives sharp and clear. No haze, no weight pressing on my chest. For once, I feel ready not to fight another war, but to finish one. Alex is already at the table, sipping coffee. the photograph and my watch laid out between us like two silent witnesses. "You sure about this?" he asks. I nod. It ends the day. We don't have to wait long. Rick shows up late, of course. His car hums into the driveway, polished and smug, the man behind the wheel rehearsing the charm that carried him this far. But when he steps into my yard, he's no longer stepping onto a stage. He's walking into a verdict. The neighbors drift closer to the fence, drawn like moths to the final flame. Emma stands at the edge of the porch, arms folded, eyes fixed on Rick. And Alex is beside me, my son no longer divided. Rick tries to start smooth. I came to clear the air. Last night got out of hand. Emotions, words, you know how it is. No, I cut him off, my voice firm. This isn't about words. This is about truth. And today, you'll finally hear out loud. I step forward, pulling the cracked photograph from the table. The image of me and Alex glints in the morning sun, the fracture down the middle catching the light like a scar. You've lived years with a debt you never paid. I tell him, you wore my silence like a crown. You let my son believe you were the man who stood taller, when in reality, you only stood because I carried you out of the dirt. Rick opens his mouth, but nothing comes. His throat works, his mask faltering under the weight of eyes on him. Neighbors, Emma, Alex. Tell them, I say, pointing to crowd. My voice sharpens, louder now, slicing through the quiet. Tell them who saved you. Tell them why you're here at all. Rick swallows. His voice is thin, ragged. It was him. It was Mark. He saved me. I wouldn't be here otherwise. The words hang in the air, heavy and final. Murmurs ripple through the yard, heads turning, eyes narrowing at him. Not me. The empire of his image collapses in real time, brick by fragile brick. I set the photograph back on the table and place my watch beside it. Debt paid. Gratitude spoken. And now we're done. Stay out of my house. Stay out of my son's life. You don't own either of us. Rick's face burns red. He tries to recover, forcing a laugh. Fine, if that's how you want it, but don't expect. Alex steps forward, his voice sharp as a blade. No, Rick, you don't get to finish that sentence. You don't get the last word here. The crowd stirs, nodding. Emma exhales, her shoulders dropping as if she's been carrying the lie as heavily as the rest of us. Rick looks around, searching for an ally, but finds only silence. For the first time in his life, he has nothing left to buy, no stage left command. He turns and walks to his car, shoulders hunched, his shadow shrinking behind him. I watch him go, not with hatred, not even with triumph, but with the quiet satisfaction of a man who finally took back what was stolen, respect. Alex picks up the photograph, holding it carefully. He's gone, he says softly. No, I answer, sliding the watch back onto my wrist. He's finished. There's a difference. The neighbors drift away, the yard emptying, but the silence left behind feels different now. Clean, honest, earned. Emma lingers, whispering, I'm glad Alex has you. Then she leaves too. It's just me and my son again. He places a photo on the table, next to the watch, the button, the paper slip from the meeting. Symbols of sacrifice, failure, redemption. Small things that carry the weight of a life. Alex looks at me, eyes steady. What now? Now, I say, we build, not on money, on truth. The watch ticks steady on my wrist, no longer counting down to loss. For the first time in years, it beats forward towards something alive. I glance at the photograph one last time. The crack down the middle no longer looks like a wound. It looks like a line drawn between past and future. And as the wind brushes the gate, swinging it open smooth and silent, I know the war is over, and I have won. If you like this story, please like this video. Subscribe to the channel and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the right.